The animation style of Anomalisa and Tumbleleaf are very different. Anomalisa is smooth and realistic, and Tumbleleaf is energetic and cartoony. But when I landed on Tumbleleaf Season 2, the most difficult adjustment was the quota. I went from 2 seconds a day on Anomalisa to 8 seconds a day on Tumbleleaf. 8 seconds isn't out of this world for stop motion. I've heard of shows that target 10 to 12 seconds a day, and it's definitely common in TV to move that fast. But I had a really hard time hitting the target. I was on the testing stage for 2 weeks, animating as fast as I could, but never getting more than 6 seconds a day. Because after all that super detailed work on Anomalisa, I had gotten addicted to checking every frame in the computer before capturing it. I'd move the puppet, then toggle drag and frame back and forth, checking every finger, every piece of hair, every fold of clothing to make sure I'd moved it the right amount. My breakthrough came when the animation supervisor Rachel Larson came to my stage and animated a character running, but she did it without ever looking at the computer. She just placed the puppet, took a frame, adjusted the puppet, took another frame, and captured a whole second like that before she even watched playback. And lo and behold, it worked. So to hit the 8 seconds, you just had to find chunks of the shot that you could animate blind. Just trust your instincts and go. And that was hard for me at first, but so liberating once I got used to it. And this animation is probably full of technical mistakes, but you don't see them because of the energy.
Where I'm going to put this tinsel tree topper on the tippity top of the tinsel tree for all to see. Come on, everyone's waiting for us. Mount Tinsel, here we come.
Another thing I learned from Rachel was how to do a run without a flying rig. When a character runs, there are several frames where they don't have any feet on the ground, and so previously I had always used a flying rig. For example, this is how we rigged the mongrel on Armacrog. The flying rig allows the puppet to float above the ground while you take the frame, but it has to be removed in post, and with Tumbleleaf's TV schedule, we were trying to minimize the amount of rig removal as much as possible. So we animated running using this tie-down trick. On this frame, Maple's left foot is tied down, and the same with this frame. And then on this frame, it's still tied down, but I pushed the tie down up out of the table. And on the next frame, Maple's still up in the air, but now her right foot is on an elevated tie down. And then it drops down to the floor, and so on. So post-production only has to remove half an inch of tie down instead of a whole flying rig.
Where you going, Fig?
Gord's in trouble. We're going to help him.
That didn't sound good.
Tumbling turnips. Let's go. Ooh.
Sorry, Fig.
Thanks, Maple.
Oh, Fig.
I learned all sorts of cartoony tricks from the other animators. For example, to do a quick eye dart, you can put down multiple pupils, which read like a blur in playback.
Stick, look. We found snowshoes. Let's find some snow.
I also had to make the adjustment from a rated R movie to a preschool kids show. In animation, there's something called imitatable behavior, which always bugged me because it should be imitable behavior, but even Daffy Duck can't say it right.
So I shall attempt to entertain you in my own inimitable fashion.
Anyway, the idea is kids, especially preschool kids, are impressionable, and they will do what they see on TV. So you can't show a kid putting a fork in a socket or playing with matches. But it even affects things that are less obvious. So take this shot.
Let me figure this out. Nope, too short.
At this point, I animated Fig throwing the stick off screen like a javelin. It shoots off right, and I thought it'd be fun maybe to hear some shattering glass, maybe scaring a cat, that type of thing. But I had to reanimate it because of imitatable behavior. They didn't want kids throwing things across the house. So I ended up with this odd animation where the momentum kind of vanishes.
Nope, too short.
It still works, it's just kind of funny the things you can't do in a preschool show. We were still in the middle of production when I moved over to Sony Animation to direct The Star, so my time on Tumbleleaf was cut short. But it's amazing to me how much I learned about animation in 3 years. I used to obsess over a shot like this, but by the end of my stint on Tumbleleaf, I was flying through more complicated stuff, animating with more confidence and having more fun, too.
Maple, I need your help. Maple?
Down here, Fig. Hi, Fig. What's the problem?
So that's my animation reel, sort of a snapshot of my first 3 years in LA and all the different things I learned on the job. But let me just say, this is a terrible example of what an animation reel should be. If you're cutting an animation reel, aim for 3 minutes, put your best stuff at the beginning, and probably don't talk over it like I just did. Thanks for watching.